Ace Podcast.
Blood and Black Rum Podcast presents today Death Wish 4, The Crackdown.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryne from the moviesdeadworld.net, and I'm joined with my co-host, Martin.
How's it going?
And we are going further in our Death Wish series. A look at all 5 of the Death Wish films. We've done 3 already.
We're getting there. We're almost done.
Yeah, we're more than halfway through now. And today, we're on to the 4th, which is Death Wish 4, The Crackdown.
The Crackdown parts are very important.
The Crackdown. This is the first time that there's been a subtitle for the Death Wish films.
We went from Death Wish to Death Wish 2 with Roman numerals.
Yeah.
The Death Wish 3 forsakes the Roman numerals.
Yep.
Goes to the
back to regular
just Arabic,
numbers.
Back to Arabic numerals. And now this one, we still got the Arabic numeral,
Yep.
but now we got a subtitle.
That's right, yeah. And the Crackdown part of it is a big, important part in the film.
It is.
Because he's cracking down on crack.
Yeah. They don't say crack.
No.
But it's crack.
It's basically crack, yeah. It's crack cocaine. And, yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say, to be fair, they do reference freebasing.
They do,
which is different from crack. I mean,
but
at the same time, it's like,
yeah. But I mean, I think in general, the idea for this film is that it's less. I guess it is about cocaine, but it's really more so about like drugs in like a generic like we're crack. Let's get rid of drugs. Cocaine is the main point, like that. Which fuels his
which makes sense because this was filmed and came out.
Oh yeah,
during the crack epidemic.
Crack epidemic. Yeah,
I mean that's what they were calling it.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why the war on drugs amped up in the 80s.
I mean, yeah, I think that like cocaine and crack is the focus, but I really do think that Death Wish 4 is more so like working in generic terms. Like let's just. It's drugs in general, like put it all in one group. Drugs.
They should just had some kid like smoking pot and like Bronson guns him down.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna be toking on my streets.
That's right. Well, you can't say that Death Wish the series is not time like a contemporary action film. Like it is constantly set within the time period because we talked about the first Death Wish, which is really like really close, not during, but really close to the Nixon administration. And we have Death Wish.
It's very, and the first one, as we've said in the previous podcast, it's very grounded in that early mid 70s vigilante, film style.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, even though it's ingrained in it, and it's very much a piece of its time. So again, it's a film that I still think you can look back at, and it still kind of impacts and reflects it. That's why I'm not dismissive of Death Wish, and I enjoy Death Wish because I think it works and it does as a film very well. I know there's flaws in it, but it's it's not Taxi Driver, people, but it's still a very good film.
Yeah,
and I think an important film. You can't really say that about the sequels, because when you get to Death Wish 2, it's very much it's not a vigilante film anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's still timely.
It's like, timely of the early 80s.
For that early 80s time period, it's again, and we talked about it a little bit on that episode, is that it comes significantly later as a Death Wish film. It's not like, this is next year after the first Death Wish where they're coming out with Death Wish 2. No, it's years later.
Yeah, 8 years.
Yeah, where Death Wish 2 finally comes out. We actually watched an interview with the director of Death Wish 2 and Death Wish. I mean, he did both.
Death Wish 3.
And Death Wish 3, Michael Winner. And in that one, he really comes under fire for the rape scene in Death Wish 2, which, if you've seen it, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, is a lot less... it's a lot less serious than the first Death Wish.
And a lot less impactful.
Yeah, it really, it's there because it's exploitative, and they really are going for, like, a reaction from the audience.
But it's graphic. I would say in some aspect it's more graphic than Death Wish 1's rape scene. But
yeah.
But you're right, it's less impactful than the first one, or like, say, a Clockwork Oranges. Because there's not really any... It's not, like, taken seriously in it.
No.
It's the way, like, just how you have Lawrence Fishburne and his buddies acting throughout that, it's...
Yeah.
Very...
It's goofy. I call it goofy.
Yeah.
It's goofy because they don't really care to make it serious. And there's no... Like, you're not... It's almost like you're not even really supposed to find anything about it. Like, there's not... Like, you can kind of chuckle. Like, oh, there's a rape going on. They mentioned butt stuff, But it's not like you're just supposed to feel anything by it. And that was part of the issue with this interview, is they were really questioning why, they depict the rape scene in this way. But what I thought was interesting, not even talking about the rape itself, but was how Michael Winner was talking about, he felt he needed to do another Death Wish because it was very timely, and he thought that a lot had changed within, like, society within those 8 years between Death Wish 1 and Death Wish 2. So, I mean, say what you will about, like, the sequels and the series itself.
I don't know if I believe that as a whole. I do believe what the two British commentators are saying. It was just a money grab.
It could have been,
but
yeah, definitely.
I think that, but I mean, because... But it's because it's literally portraying the same idea from the first film. It's literally a remake of the first film, except the difference is it's not a vigilante film, it's a revenge film, because he's not doing it out of the, like, this idea that he has to clean the streets up. It's something, again, that happened to him, but this time he's targeting people specifically that were involved in that. So it's more than just him being, a vigilante. It's him, that's revenge. And
yeah. I mean, I guess just the depiction of, like, the criminals and the society in Death Wish 2 is somewhat different than how Death Wish 1 does it. And even how people react to a supposed vigilante running around in Death Wish 2 is a lot different than Death Wish 1, where Death Wish 1 is kind of like heralding this person that he's, like, on the cover of every single magazine that you can think of, on billboards. And in Death Wish 2, like, no one is really making any...
Except the cops.
Yeah, exactly. And no one really cares.
And the people that he encounters.
Yeah. And I mean, Death Wish 3, which we just did last week, it's not really so much different from Death Wish 2 in the way that they're portraying, like, the events. Like, society didn't change that much within the time period between, because I think there's only, like, maybe 2 years between Death Wish 2 and Death Wish 3. Not much has changed, and really, one can say that Death Wish 3 is probably taking things even less seriously than Death Wish 2, but not in an offensive way, like they're claiming with Death Wish 2 with the rape scene. It's not really an offensive way. It's more so just like now it's kind of like a jokey action film that is almost satirical in the way it's portrayed.
That was the point I made, that I think, the way things are in Death Wish 3, that it is, I don't think it's taking itself seriously at this point.
Yeah.
Which you said you didn't think so much of, but I honestly don't think in Death Wish 3. I think that's part of the fun of it, too, is like, at this point, and now after watching that interview, I think probably after the criticisms that Michael Winner got after Death Wish 2, he's probably like, fuck it, we're just gonna,
Yeah, we're just gonna do another one and not really care that much about...
And just, we'll make it light and... Because, again, in the third one, there's not a rape scene, it's just his buddy gets beaten up in his house, and...
Well, I mean, there is.
No, you're right. No, you're right.
It occurs later.
No, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, the one guy's wife. Yeah.
But a lot of that, though, it seems like he learned a lot of that is off screen. It's more so, rip the shirt off And the rest of it you don't really technically see.
I mean,
it's more of like a mention after the fact, like where her boyfriend is like, I can't believe she was raped. I can't believe she was raped. You know, it's not so much explicit in that sense.
I mean, I do think in a sense in that interview, and I would recommend people who are listening to go check it out. Just go on YouTube and type in like Michael Winter heated debate.
It was Death Wish 2 heated debate, and check it out.
I mean, I think he does have a point. I think film, comedy, arts, drama. I don't think any topic's ever off limits.
No, it's not off limits.
And like I know because I think because you do have people who say don't ever like joke about rape.
Yeah.
Or don't ever joke about racism. And they're both or any type of topic like that. They're very complex issues. I don't think, though, you can't joke about them.
No.
Because part of, like, satire and dramatization is to look at these things in a different way that are going to get other people to look at it. Like, I may not be able to convince somebody, with an argument about why their racism is bad, but if you tell, like, a joke about, like, like a certain stereotype, you can be like, see, doesn't that, like, when you hear it, sound kind of ridiculous? It's the it's like with like a racial joke, you can like laugh, like you don't have to be racist to laugh at. You can laugh at the absurdity of like the whole idea of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the whole like point of humor is like you're taking something and drawing it to such an absurd length. And so I think like with his point with like when they're critiquing him showing like the rape scene, though again I do believe the point gets lost with the fact that they don't take it as seriously, but I think the fact that they're saying like, well, you can't show like that because that's just pornographic. I think it's wrong. I think you can do something like that and make it be impactful and meaningful and not just exploitive, but also graphic.
Yeah.
But again, that's somebody's got to have like when it comes to stuff like that, you got to have a very fine stroke.
Yeah.
You can't.
I mean, like. That's sort of joking and stuff is also a coping mechanism at certain points. And I don't know if you could really say that, like we were saying, Death Wish 2 isn't really, like, gentle or, walking the line between, like, depicting rape. It does probably go overboard on the way that it does it, and it doesn't do it in a it's not careful with what it does, is probably what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, like in this interview, you can see that the one critic that they have on to kind of discuss this is Michael Winter is totally really against like any depiction of rape in film ever. Like it's like not okay ever because you're not going to show the entirety of the act in the way that it's performed as like an actual rape. And I find that completely ludicrous from her standpoint that you can't show rape if you can't show like the entirety of the penetration of the entire act. That's first of all, if you did show that and it did get through the censors for whatever reason, like everybody would be turned off by that because there's you don't need to see all of that. Absolutely not. You don't need to see all of that to still feel the impact of wow, that was a terrible thing. I don't need to see every little detail.
Again, and just like all you have to do is like watch like Clockwork Orange and how
exactly
it handles
it.
And
definitely though there is like a careful nuance of how to depict it in a way that makes the viewer think, wow, I know why I needed to see that, but also I know that was horrible, and like I'm meant to think that's horrible. And not so much anything else. Like, I'm not meant to just laugh it off like, oh, yeah, that was kind of fun, And so I think that's the case with, like, Death Wish 1 and 2, mostly 2. Because Death Wish 1 is actually pretty careful with the way that it's depicting that rape. It's not really meant to, be, like, titillating or anything like that. But with Death Wish 4, the Crackdown, we don't get a rape at all. We get an attempted rape. We get a quick introduction to Paul Kersey, now back again in L.A. for whatever reason. And
got right out of New York after burning down half the Bronx.
That's right.
Not Bronx, Brooklyn.
Got out of New York. He's been in New York, L.A., Chicago, back to L.A. And with Death Wish 4, we kind of it's kind of like we're getting out of that like gratuitousness of Death Wish 1 and 2 and really embracing like the ridiculousness of this late 80s action piece.
Because this isn't a vigilante film.
No, it's not.
It's not really a
no matter how much it wants to pretend that it's a vigilante
or a revenge film. It's an action film.
Yeah. It's like it wants to pretend that like this is a vigilante film, but it clearly is not. It's not at all. And it really is straight up action to the point where, you know, we were joking, you could actually form a Grand Theft Auto mission around it. It's like an entire mission.
Entire plot line for like a series of missions from like one boss.
Yeah.
It's literally what it feels like. You're playing Vice City or like San Andreas.
Yeah, it does.
It's ridiculous. It's great though. I actually like the new direction that it's kind of going in now.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But first, you know, let's talk about what we're drinking. Have we had this on the podcast before?
I believe we have, yeah.
I think we have had it on the podcast before, but it's a seasonal favorite. It's coming around again. We talked about it a little bit in a previous episode that you were hoping that it was coming out.
Yeah.
And now it's out. We're obviously talking about the Genessee Bock beer, which is like their later winter, spring, seasonal beer.
Used to be just a spring beer, but now everyone's releasing their spring beers in the winter. So because if you remember, the first time I ever had this and brought it around was very late March when I went to visit you in Massachusetts to watch the NCAA tourney.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, now it's
out in
January.
Yeah, pre-February. Yeah, we've had this on the show before, but we'll bring it up again because
it's a great beer.
Yeah, it's been a year. If you haven't listened to the podcast previously, then you wouldn't have heard it. It's a fun like beer for Jenny because it's a little bit more complex than some of their other stuff that they put out. Like the cream ale or just the regular Jenny. It's basically a pretty token Bock beer, really. I mean, it's kind of what I think of when I think of Bocks.
This is my Bock beer.
Yeah, this is yours of choice.
This is actually one of this is my favorite Genessee beer.
Yeah.
The Oktoberfest. Yeah, I love the Oktoberfest.
Yep.
Very close second. And I do love the cream ale. They're all very close to me.
Yeah.
They're great. I do hope they continue the Oktoberfest, which, as you were saying, that one guy that you talked on to Facebook that works there said it's sold like fucking crazy. So hopefully,
I'm sure they'll be doing it again.
But I love this, and I look forward to. I've been drinking this now for about 6 years. I look forward every spring for this.
Yeah.
And usually I only get to buy like a couple of cases because around here not a lot of stores like stock up on it. They'll get it, but they won't get it in bulk because around here most people's like cheap beer choice it's Busch.
Yeah,
and that's what they stock up on. They don't stock up on.
They're not really going to go out of their way to get the Jenny Bock.
Yeah, but I mean they'll get it, but they won't get it in bulk. However, the place I got it today had a 10 stack of cases.
Wow.
Of it. And they have out front too, a display, a cardboard cutout display of the Jenny Brew House logo on it, and then the Jenny Brew House selections and some other Genessee stuff. So that's great. So I'm hoping they stay fully stocked because I picked up 2 12-packs of this today.
Yeah,
because
that's awesome.
I love it. It's great. Basically, if you never had Genessee's Bock before, it's kind of like their regular beer, but it's much more maltier.
Yeah.
Has a very deep, malty body to it. You get caramel notes to it. It's got a slight bitterness, but also a sweetness to it.
Yeah.
It's very crisp, very refreshing.
Yeah,
very drinkable and enjoyable beer. I mean, I've never really had too many Bocks before, like other Bocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would I don't think this is probably the greatest representation probably of what a true Bock is.
Right.
I don't care though. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I think I like it. I think it's really good. I'm actually sick this week, as you could probably tell from my huskier voice. But the first sip that I had, the first couple sips was very, very bitter to me because of I'm thinking because of my cold and the way that it's like messing with my taste buds. You know, you get that sick taste in your mouth. Kind of have that. So like it really emphasized the bitterness, which I don't know if I wasn't sick, if I would really recognize that it's bitter, but it does have bitter notes to it, which I think makes it a little bit more complex than some of Jenny's other beers, because you're getting a slight, a lot of malt to it, but then a slight bitterness as well.
When he says other Jenny beers, he means like their main line.
Not their brew house beers, but like the Jenny regular, Jenny Light, Jenny Cream,
Jenny Ice.
Yeah, Jenny Ice. Even like the 12 Horse Ale.
Which, you know what? They only hit. This is why I want to go out to the brew house.
Yeah.
They do serve it at the brew house.
The 12 Horse Ale?
Yeah, because I see on
regularly.
Yeah, because I see people post on Facebook all the time like, why don't you sell the 12 Horse anymore? Why don't you sell it? And they're like, we do. It's only at the brew house. So.
Interesting.
And it's like, I gotta go to the brew house and get 12 Horse. I don't know why they just don't release it like
they should. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's weird that they pick and choose sometimes like when to do it. So.
Well, they haven't released it in a couple of years.
Yeah, I haven't seen it out lately. You know what's interesting though is that we'll be going tomorrow night to our local tap room, which is called Project 29, and they are having a trivia night, which is always fun. But the more so why we're going is because they're having a Jenny Brewhouse night at the bar. So I don't know what exactly that means.
If that means like their brewhouse selections are going to be discounted, or if someone from Genessee is going to be there, I don't know. But I that's the whole reason.
I honestly have to think that maybe somebody from Jenny's going to be there. I mean, that would make sense. Like if they're highlighting Jenny Brewhouse.
Well, I don't know if you saw on Facebook them like recently adding to their menu like their winter warmer, their salted caramel chocolate porter.
Yeah,
and I think like their Scotch Ale or their Imperial Black IPA.
So they do have a lot on tap now as well.
That or if it's I don't know if it's on tap or in bottles, but they
don't know. Maybe they're just handing it out. That'd be great.
I know.
It'd be fantastic. No, but it should be a fun time. I've never been to their trivia night, but you've been once before. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, trivia nights.
We're just gonna go. I don't know. We'll probably get some food or something.
We got great food there.
Yeah, have some fun. Have a few beers, and hopefully, someone from Jenny Brewhouse is there. They do have a Jenny Brewhouse sign that's really nice.
I know. I want it.
Yeah, I know.
I want it.
So that would be interesting to go and meet with the Jenny Brewhouse guy and tell him, hey, we podcast Jenny a lot. That'd be kind of cool.
I can't wait for the Smash to come around. Their single malt, single hop.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. It's gonna be good.
Be awesome. Well, what do you say? We should head right into the film because we've already done Jenny Bock before, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. Check it out if you can because it's out now.
Yeah. Get it.
Post
stock up.
February. It's out. So spring beer. All right, so jumping right into Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, which you have to, when you say the title, you have to add that subtitle on every time.
It's like a pimp called Slickback. You gotta say the whole thing.
That's right.
It's like a Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
It's a Boondocks reference for you kids.
I have to say, I think this film is pretty stupid. I gotta say, I think it's pretty stupid.
I think you're wrong.
Here, let me kind of try to
unpack that.
Yeah,
please.
let me try to give you some why I think it's stupid. I definitely don't think that this film is as good as Death Wish 3, which I think was probably a high point for the series after the original Death Wish.
This is the best reviewed Death Wish sequel.
Death Wish 4 is the best one?
Yes.
See, I don't agree.
See, Death Wish 2 and 3 got bad reviews. This got mixed reviews.
See, I don't agree because, like I said with Death Wish 3 was a lot of fun. It's not a smart movie. Like, it's not a smart movie at all. Like, you can pick out a lot of things that just don't realistically seem like they would happen or work or anything. A lot of blown up cars and shit. But it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, I'll say that. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in these films now that we're kind of like post seriousness. Whereas like Death Wish, you're not really, you're meant to find it pretty serious. I mean, it's not like a parody of an action film or anything like that. even if it's unintentional, like Death Wish 2. It's pretty unintentional. But Death Wish 3 was a lot of fun. And I've got to say that Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, is just not that much fun to me. It didn't have that sort of, like, pacing and over-the-top ridiculousness that Death Wish 3 had. And I really found it paled in comparison to the point where, like, I think some people will find Death Wish 4 like even a little bit boring at times. Go ahead. Let me have it. What do you think?
I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
Though I think Death Wish 3 is still... Because even though, like I said, I've seen the first 3 ones many a time, so I got them memorized. But 4 and 5, I've only seen them like once or twice, so I don't remember much. I still think Death Wish 3 is the best one, because it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I think it's very tongue-in-cheek, and it knows it. This one... I think it's tongue-in-cheek. I still think it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy the new direction it's going in, but I don't think it's as entertaining as Death Wish 3.
I don't at all.
I think this film has a few things in it that are very notable compared to Death Wish 2 and 3. I think overall, the change in directing is for the better. I think this is a much better directed film than Death Wish 2 and 3. It definitely has a better flow and pace to it. Because it's, for the most part, this film is like 70% action. There's not a lot of bullshitting going around. In Death Wish 3 and Death Wish 2, there's a lot of bullshitting going around. Like, just like randomly talking and, expositive scenes just, kind of move things forward. This film is literally, Paul Kersey's got a new girlfriend. His girlfriend goes on a date. She buys some Coke. OD's on the Coke and dies.
His girlfriend's daughter.
Yeah. And what happens? Well, he wants revenge and he kills like the pusher that gave her the Coke. But at the same time, somebody finds out that he's, the vigilante. So he goes and meets with this guy, and it's a millionaire, newspaper guy, and says his daughter died the same way too. And he knows all about Kersey, and he's willing to give him everything to take down the drugs in Los Angeles. And Kersey agrees. And from there, it's literally just, like I said, it's like a GTA mission or a Hitman game. It's literally Kersey's getting ready to do the killing of somebody with expository briefing going on by that character, and then he kills somebody, and then they move on to the next one. And then you have in between slightly, because there's 2 rival drug gangs in this. And then you have them kind of be like, what the fuck's going on? And that's the entire film.
Yeah, basically.
It's literally the entire film. It's simple, and the film knows that. It's simple, it's not trying to be overtly smart or anything like that. It's just trying to be entertaining. And I think it works in the fact, and you know what? Even though this film series started off in a grounded reality of, fighting crime with vigilantism because you feel, as a citizen, you feel helpless and the police aren't doing anything and you want to stop it. This has gone the complete opposite fucking direction at this point, and now we've gotten to, in this film, he's fucking James Bond.
Well, yeah, because
Because this film, even though the Bond film License to Kill came out 2 years after this, it's literally License to Kill.
Yeah, I mean, with this one, Paul Kersey is not a vigilante. He apparently could do this for a living.
He's a hitman.
He's a hired assassin, because Nathan White, the guy who hires him, is basically saying, I've seen that you have skills, and I'm going to put you to work, like wiretapping phones and infiltrating as a spy in like a fish house and also working at like as a butler at one of the drug guys' mansions,
using explosives and all. Yeah,
like this is not your run of the mill like guy who his wife is murdered, so he's like, I'm gonna use a gun on this guy. It's not it's not as easy as just taking up a gun and be like, I'm gonna shoot that guy.
Well, not only that, before all of this, the basis of his character was he was a fucking bleeding heart liberal because he was a conscientious objector in the Korean War. So when he's in the Korean War, he didn't fight, he was a medic. But he still knew how to, at least he knew how to shoot though, because his dad, although his mom was a pacifist, his dad liked to hunt, so he learned how to shoot. So that makes sense in the first couple of at least the first two films.
Yeah.
How he knows how to, at
least fire a weapon
and be accurate and, well trained. And this one, it's like, well, in that downtime between these films, he went away to like MI6 sleepaway camp and became, 008. And now he's out there, wiretapping, getting briefs from M and then setting bombs off in a
he knows how to
comical manner and.
Yeah, he knows how to, rig up bombs. He knows how to use a grenade launcher. These are things that a normal person, just off the street, figuring out that they want to take down some crime, they're not going to know how to do.
And
so
at least with Death Wish 3, too, when at the end when he's using that Browning M19, you might be able to, you can, okay, even though he's a conscious objector, he still had to go through, military training.
Yeah.
At one point, during, marksman training, it might have been okay, you're going to learn how to use the machine gun because you may need to have to use it.
Right.
So that makes sense. But for this one, bomb squad work or spying, this...
No, yeah, this is really suspends belief on what Paul Kersey as a regular person could do. Because, he just doesn't have that training. So yeah, I think it's a little ridiculous for one thing with what Death Wish 4 the Crackdown presents. But you're right. I do think that this film has a lot better direction from
it's much tighter. Of a film.
Yeah, it is from J. Lee Thompson, who notably did films like Cape Fear, and what was the other one that he did? I can't remember. That was another one that was a really a well-known film. Now I'm drawing a blank on what he actually... Oh, yeah, the Planet of the Apes series as well. He did Battle and Conquest.
Well, those are the last two.
They're not technically well...
I like them.
Films, but he did, Cape Fear particularly is a pretty well-reviewed film. It's not something to, scoff at when you're talking about film history. And then to see kind of J. Lee Thompson take on basically multiple Charles Bronson franchises like Death Wish 4, Messenger of Death, and then Conjita at
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, Murphy's Law. All of those at the end of his film career seems like it just burnt him out and killed him from actually doing film, because he retired from film in 1989, didn't do anything else after that film with Charles Bronson. Kind of burnt him out. And I can kind of see why. You're going from Cape Fear to Death Wish 4. It's just kind of a weird scenario, I guess. But maybe he wanted to get less serious. That's something. Maybe he wanted to just have fun.
He's also a director that's doing a film a year.
True.
So,
probably just taking what...
So it's not like you're going to,
Yeah.
You're not going to be doing...
You're not going to get everything that's gold...
It's not Kubrick carefully, sculpting and planning everything and, deciding what to get. It's, I gotta do this film.
Probably just likes to make movies. That could be. But anyway, I don't know. I think that Death Wish 4 the Crackdown it's barely a Death Wish film in general. This could be a film by any other name. It could just be called The Crackdown, and you would be...
No, you're right.
Yeah, this could be any Charles Bronson film. No,
you're totally right. As much as I like the change in tone from... And by tone, I mean not seriousness. I mean the overall direction from being a vigilante revenge to an action film. As much as I enjoy it, no, you're totally right. This isn't a Death Wish film.
Yeah.
At this point, if 3 didn't lose the spirit of it, this one, it's totally gone.
It definitely has. You do have some of the Death Wish themes. You have a lot of criminal stuff going on that affects Charles, Paul Kersey in some way. In the beginning, the intro where he sees a woman is being is in an attempted rape, and he steps in to intervene. I mean, that's part of Death Wish.
What was
in
he
a way.
doing in that garage?
Yeah, why is he just standing around?
The lady was leaving her job and getting in her car, and it's in a fucking parking garage, and then 3 thugs, they don't show them showing up, they just like kind of magically like one by one show up, and she's trying to start her car, but apparently her, expensive BMW just won't fucking start up. God knows why.
Yeah.
And then as they break the window and drag her out and, get ready to rape her, nope, Paul Kersey's there to gun him down.
Yeah, he's just magically in the parking garage.
It's his job. Yeah, in
a trench coat.
It's his job now to just like follow people and be like, I think that guy's a rapist.
He owns his own architect firm, but
now he's not working for a firm. He has his own firm.
He owns it.
And now,
so like this, I think we should bring that up too, because this is not really a scenario where Paul Kersey can just be like, I'm gonna move now. You own an architect firm in Los Angeles. You can't just at this point be like, I'm gonna up and move to a different city, and that you're not, you can't just do that anymore. You can't just pick up roots and move away. And when you own a firm like that, I don't know. Some of those things, they just don't work. It definitely does feel like a different kind of film than what Death Wish has presented so far. With that, I mean, like I said, there's a few things that really stand out, though. Not only like the attempted rape at the beginning of the film, but there's also the fact that he's constantly pursued by the police with like a really small subplot about the police working on his case. That's been a kind of constant within the Death Wish series,
of them looking for the vigilante.
Yeah. In this case, again, we cannot forget about how much of a record he must have amassed by now. With multiple cities.
I know, but not only that, he's back in LA again.
Yeah, he's been in LA.
Death Wish 2, there are cops there looking for him and, working on that.
I mean,
what do they do? Just like, oh yeah, that Paul Kersey, we found out he's the vigilante, but he's a nice guy and he's doing God's work, so all those files and evidence, we burned it all.
Yeah.
So now, like, these new cops, like,
Yeah, it's not until the end of the film where they actually run his record and they're like, oh yeah, we kind of found out that he's had this happen to him before.
12 different times.
That's right. I mean, I guess that in general, these aren't very good cops, because the one guy that is
which makes the argument for vigilantism,
I guess so.
That much stronger. Like, well, these cops can't fucking figure out he's doing it. You might as well just do it.
I mean, like with the main detective that's been following him, Detective Ryne, his partner,
low rent John Saxon.
That's what you think. I don't really see it.
He looks like a low rent,
maybe
a very low rent.
Kind of.
Look at John Saxon's Wikipedia page and the picture they have from him. It looks like John Saxon.
I guess so.
Now again, I'm not saying it has to be spot on.
Yeah,
because he doesn't at all. That's what I'm saying. He's a very low rent.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's kind of like when you get to
I can see it.
It's kind of like when you get to like Gundam, and after all the spin-offs, when you have like different Char clones, like they're supposed to serve the role of Char.
Kind of like Char, yeah.
Yeah. You have like certain ones that are like the very lowest of rent.
And I think what more so is that I can hear it in his voice. I can hear a little bit of John Saxon in his voice. But I mean, yeah, I can see the kind of resemblance to him. But I mean, this guy is working closely with his partner, who is definitely a criminal, like definitely working with the crime bosses in the area, and he has not figured it out yet. I mean, it's not good cops in this film, not at all.
Not really good. Outside Death Wish 1, there's not really.
Not really. They don't really put it together very well.
But isn't it what film? Unless the film, no, even films that have like cops. If the lead is the cop, he's the smart cop that has to fight against the authority around him to get things done, because they just don't know any better. Like a John McClane.
Yeah.
Like he's got they're telling him otherwise, but he knows he's on the ground. He's doing the dirty work. And these films, the same things. It's like, and I think of the past films we reviewed, like Black Christmas. Everyone's a fucking idiot except John Saxon.
That's true. Yeah.
My Bloody Valentine. All the fucking idiots.
Yeah.
It's a movie trope.
Yeah.
For these things to work, your cops have to be incompetent.
That's true. Yeah, they are. I mean, they pretty much are. But I kind of do like about this film, even though I think that it's really, I think it's exaggerated, is that they have two different warring drug cartels, and that,
which makes no sense, by the way.
I mean, you don't really have a partnership where you both are bringing drugs into the same city and you're cool with it because it's the same drug. Really, they're both bringing cocaine into the city, and they want a peace offering between them.
Well, no, they could, but
I don't really see it though, because they're really encroaching on both of their businesses.
No, they could, because they could both be making like a nice enough profit.
I guess, yeah.
Because again, if you get into, you gotta think like Godfather logic.
Actually, yeah.
Because if you get into a war, that means bodies, killing, and that's gonna bring in police,
cops,
stronger crackdown. So no, at
least it's mid '80s LA, so there's a lot of buyers.
Yeah.
For cocaine.
And a lot of corruption.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, so that makes sense to like that, they wouldn't want a war. Problem is, the one boss clearly seems like he has more power than the other ones.
Yeah.
Because when it's his birthday party, they come over and he drags them in and he's like, somebody killed my pusher. They're like, no, we don't want to break the peace, so I'll fucking kill you, And they're like, no, we want the peace. Obviously, there's not equal footing there, so it's like, if he thought anything like that, obviously, from the sounds of it, his gang could have fucking crushed the other one.
Yeah, you would think. That's what I'm saying, basically, is that why would you have peace if you could easily get rid of the other side and then have a full, cocaine enterprise rather than, like, sharing it? I think that's, but anyway, whether that makes sense or not doesn't really matter. I mean, I think it's kind of cool that, Paul Kersey's motivation in this film is to actually not kill everybody, but instead to get those two factions to kill each other. I mean, that is a kind of interesting scenario for Death Wish, because it's not really what happens in most of the other series.
Well, as I was reading online, the inspiration for this is Yojimbo.
Oh, really?
Which makes sense, because that's, a few dollars more.
Yeah.
Guy tries, or Yojimbo's remake, a few dollars more is the remake of Yojimbo, but that's, basically the whole plot is, guy sets up two warring factions and then he can reap the reward. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Guy, he's trying to set up both factions so he can have them wipe each other out and, profit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clever that they do this within Death Wish, because that's not really a thing that happens. Normally it is Paul Kersey going in and just killing whoever he needs to until there's no one left. Until he's gotten his vengeance, like in Death Wish 2, or he's basically just kicked out of the city because people know who he is and he needs to leave because they realize he's doing a good job, but he can't do it here anymore. In this one, there's not really anything like that. Like, he doesn't have to... that's one of my issues, is that he could totally just go in and kill everybody like he normally does. So there's really no reason for him to go in and, like, wiretap a phone, because they know that he's just going to kill them later on anyway.
Yeah, no, there's one scene where he's wiretapping a guy, one of the supposed top assassin. I can't remember for which group, if it's the Romeros or the Zacharias.
Yeah, I don't even really
My
know.
God, whoever thought that to be like the two like last names.
Romero and Zacharias, yeah.
Yeah, this guy's name's Ed Zacharias. Like, wow.
Yeah.
He couldn't be like just like John Smith or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, he's wiretapping one of their top assassins' phone, only for him to come in, get in a fight. He throws the guy out the window and on like from 10 stories up onto a car to get killed. So the whole point of him wiretapping was move. He could have literally just gone to that place to kill him.
Yeah.
To kill the assassin, not to wiretap. And then
need to do it. Well, but the thing that makes sense even less is that they already know who the top men are in both of the factions. They know it's the Romero brothers, and they know that it's Zacharias. So why are they wiretapping for more information? They don't need more information.
I know, he's already got it. Again, like I said, it's literally because of the guy Bronson's working for. It's literally like a hitman, like you're playing Hitman or GoldenEye. You're getting like a briefing before he goes and kills the guy. So you even get to, again, the guy that got thrown out of the fucking the hotel window out of the car. You even get to learn a nice little caveat, like, oh, he's also a very fine baritone. You don't fucking need to know
Yeah,
that. But no, you get to know, they're like, hey, he's an asshole scumbag killer, but he's got a good baritone voice.
Yeah, he can
That's
sing.
how much information they have on him. So you don't need, like, again, he was given all the tools to do that. You don't, it doesn't, that part doesn't make again, like I said, it's literally like a Grand Theft Auto or a Hitman mission. It's literally, you show up to the boss, he's like, hey, I got another job for you. This time I need this guy killed. And like, well, what's the information? I'm like, oh, he comes to this place around 3 o'clock, uses a sniper rifle this time. So, all right, got it. And then he goes and does it.
The weird thing about this is that Death Wish 4 could have made that more believable by just having the guy who, his name is Nathan White, who's ordering Paul Kersey to do things. They could have just had him being like, I'm not sure who the head drug guys are.
And make him actually have to look.
And make him have to actually do some spy work. But instead, he knows who it is, like, immediately, so there's no reason to go through this whole rigmarole.
Yeah, no, there's no tension for it at all. He's total, again, in this film, Bronson's literally Bond. He's somebody that you don't believe to be vulnerable.
Yeah. No, you don't.
You just don't.
I don't believe it at any point, really.
You don't have any fear for he's invincible. Everything Bronson does in this film, except the ending, is so just well done, well orchestrated, calculated.
Yeah, exactly. Even when he's in his architect firm, working late at night, no one else in the firm, and one of the corrupt officers comes in with a gun pointed at him, you're not in any tension that he's gonna be harmed, because you know that he's sitting behind that desk probably the entire time while he's talking to one of his assistants with a gun out under the easel, just waiting for somebody to walk in. That's how you feel with this. So that's why I can't.
And that's what he did. And that's what he did.
That's exactly what he did. So that's why I can't really say that I think Death Wish 4 is that great of a movie. I find it kind of stupid for the most part. But you can also see that it is entertaining as he does these things, even though they're unnecessary.
No, I agree. I admit, I'm not gonna lie. I admit there are stupid things with this film. But again, what action films aren't, for the most part?
Yeah.
It's very rare you see action films that's very smart. That's very clever.
It's true.
That's, again, how after all these years, if Transformer films keep coming out, they're terrible, boring, dull shit shows. Yet there's still a large group of people who are just able to go turn their brains off and enjoy it for what it is. I can do that with this. I think it hits enough right notes for this to be enjoyable to me. Not a great film per se, but it's still a very enjoyable film.
I think what we haven't talked about yet is Paul Kersey's new love interest in this, which her name is Karen, and she's really the reason why he gets roped into this in the first place, because she's got the daughter who is hooked on drugs, is going to arcades and getting drugs from drug dealers, and then she overdoses on it and ends up dead.
Which, by the way, what she got did look nothing like Coke or crack.
No, it didn't. I don't know what it would look like. Advil
or a Jawbreaker.
Yeah.
It looked like to me like brown Jawbreakers or something.
Yeah, it didn't look like any cocaine or crack that I've seen, and that's weird too, because in later scenes, they have gigantic sugar boxes full of cocaine. So it's weird how they, in that opening, I wasn't really sure what she was getting in terms of drug use. She could have been getting ecstasy for all we knew, because it didn't really, it didn't look like anything. Didn't look like any cocaine that I've seen. But yeah, so I think with Karen here in this film, it's set a new not really a new precedent, but the same precedent that Death Wish has said from the beginning, is that the real Death Wish of the title is that anybody who actually gets close to Paul Kersey, because that's the Death Wish. That's when I could possibly die at some point, because everyone around him does, in one way or another, die. In this case, the film doesn't really know what to do with Karen, I don't think.
She's out of it for 3/4 of it.
Yeah.
She's there for the intro and there for the ending.
Yeah, I don't really think that it knows what to do with her character per se. I think it gives her things to like get her out of the picture. Like Paul's like, you should write an article about drugs in the city. And then she's gone. Like, that's it. She's like, okay, I'll write it. And then, like, her character is gone for the entirety of the film until the conclusion. And it's hard to buy that finale that is like, we need to hit him where it counts. You know, we need to get something that he really loves. And that is Karen. Because we haven't seen them interact except for going to a movie. Like, we should catch the 8:30 movie. It's 2 hours. We'll get back by the time your daughter gets home.
I know. They're getting ready to go to the movie before his girlfriend's daughter goes down. Like, hey, you know, I'm back by 11. You'll be back. But if I were you, I would just stay home. And you know, it's like,
yeah, the
wink,
hint
wink
is there.
I know, the wink, wink. Like you guys,
innuendo.
like you should fuck. And it's like, yeah, what kid doesn't go like, hey, you going out on a date? I'm gonna fuck. You guys should fuck too.
Yeah.
I don't ever want that thought to like,
no.
You know.
Yeah, but it's weird because like there's not really any like emotional attraction or any like romance between Karen and Paul. I don't get that.
I don't think there has been for any of his love interests except for his wife in the first film.
Yeah, and that's strange too because his wife in the second film is literally Charles Bronson's wife. So like
his girlfriend.
His fiance. So like for them to not have any like chemistry in that one is weird, but that's because she's wooden in that one, really. I mean, she's very wooden in Death Wish 2, but like in this one, I think that this is a case of just Karen's absence throughout the whole film really makes it hard to believe when she comes in later and is supposed to be such an important part of his life in the conclusion. It's really weird. It's jarring because in this, there is a surprising conclusion. Like you said, we know that Paul really is invincible. Like he can't be hurt at all. But here, Karen is killed, and that's kind of something that Paul has sworn off. Like he's protecting those people who can't protect themselves. So for her to be killed in this scenario. It's actually surprising at the end because you don't really expect that. You expect Paul to save the day, kill off all the bad guys, and then that's it. You go home. But not in this case. You know, Karen's killed, and I think that is a surprise, but I don't think that it has the resonance that it really should have because she's just not in the film.
I know, and you're supposed to feel for it because the one cop that found out that he's the vigilante is, shows up behind him and threatens to shoot him, and then Bronson's just like, do whatever the fuck you are, and he just walks off, and the cop doesn't kill him. That's the end. That's the ending.
Yeah,
it's just Bronson's like, you're supposed to feel like, oh no, he lost another loved one, and he feels scarred, but it's like at the same time, it's like you're putting yourself into these situations.
Yeah, really.
At this point, it's not. It's hard to. It's not like at the end of this film, like, oh. Poor Paul. It's like, no.
Well, this is a guy who hasn't learned in 4 movies now that the scenarios that he puts himself in are getting the people around him killed. They're not getting him killed. Yeah, there's no, we don't have to worry about Paul dying because he's always on point. But the rest of the people around him are always dying.
I was gonna say, at least in like Death Wish 1 and Death Wish 2, he gets injured and hurt. Yeah. Like in Death Wish 1, like he's wounded pretty good. So. Again, that's why I like the first one. It's more grounded in reality and takes itself seriously. Again, this one, he's Superman. He's James Bond. He can't be hurt. At the end, he loses his lover, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. Because at this point, look, if I don't know, because I haven't gone through this situation. I don't think anyone ever has or ever will. Of like a situation like him, of like having like 3 to 4 different loved ones murdered or leave you because you're a murderer. But I almost feel like at like that point you would stop. Like how does he even? I don't understand how he even has the capacity to connect to somebody like that.
I have no idea. I don't know how you can be vigilante by night,
especially after the second film where his fiance isn't dead or anything. She leaves him because she finds out he's the vigilante, and it's basically her saying like, "You're just as bad as them, even though those things have happened. I don't want to be with you because you kill people." So like after everything that's happened, like how is he still going around? Like how is he? I don't understand. Like how like all the things he's been through, and then like just his overall emotional and psychological state. How he's even able to connect to like another person at that level. Yeah. I don't know if he's like again. Maybe he is at this point a true sociopath, and he's like a Dexter scenario where he's totally faking it. Like I'm doing it to kind of keep up appearances.
Yeah,
you know? I don't really care, and just
it's really hard to imagine because you're right at this point,
and that's adding a layer to it that I don't think they ever thought of or cared. No, you're supposed to think that he's able to do that, but at the same time, if you think about it critically long enough, you might have a brain aneurysm and a stroke and come to the conclusion like, wait, how does he do? You know, how?
Yeah, like he at this point, you would think he would just be like, okay, I'm going to live alone. Because that's, first of all, easier for me than having to explain to someone, like, try to lie to someone and say, like, no, I was actually at the firm.
You know, and like Death Wish Street, where he literally goes back to New York, lives in his old buddy's apartment because he got killed, and then basically makes it just a base of operations, and then he does his thing.
You would think you'd want to live alone at that point, because then you don't have to explain it to anybody. You can go out whenever you want, you don't have any witnesses, and just do it on your own time. You don't need anybody else. It is strange how they keep throwing love interest in here, and it's really for that purpose, like an emotional purpose. Like you're supposed to feel bad. Well, I don't feel bad for him anymore because it's been 4 movies. He hasn't learned. He's still getting other people killed. So that's a problem. He has a problem. One of the interesting things about this film is that it does have Danny Trejo in it.
Is it one of his first films?
I don't know if it's one of... I doubt it's one of his first films, but I do think that it's an interesting film for him to be in. It may be... You know what? Maybe it is one of his first films. I mean, yeah, in general, it looks like he had a boom in 1987 when this film came out, where he started, like, really getting better parts in films. In this one, he doesn't really have much of a part. Like it's not.
You can spot him from a mile away.
But yeah, you definitely could tell that. Hey, that's Danny Trejo. In this one, he doesn't get much to do, but he does get a really funny scene where
one of the best effects.
It's one of the greatest scenes in Death Wish 4. Totally, absolutely unnecessary. We'll go through the whole thing because it's super unnecessary in this scheme of things. So, Paul is tasked with going to an Italian restaurant by his boss, Nathan White, because the henchmen for the drug cartel, they like to hang out in this Italian restaurant. So he's given a suitcase of wines, like he's a wine seller, like he's a salesman for wine, which I guess they have that. I didn't really realize they had that for bars, but I guess they have it. So anyways, he's a salesman for wine, but one of those wine bottles actually has a bomb in it. So he goes into the bar. He asks the bartender to try his wine because one of them is actually real. And he then offers it to the 4 henchmen. And actually, who really knows what would happen if this actually all went well? Like, if he was actually a salesman, they liked the wine, they drank the bottle. I don't know what the initial plan was, but Danny Trejo's character recognizes Paul Kersey from somewhere because he's actually been at the drug cartel's like main operations as he was posing as a waiter. And so Danny Trejo pulls him over, and Paul Kersey like very randomly throws water in Danny Trejo's face and then runs away, and then the bomb explodes.
In the most magnificent, terrible explosion effect ever.
I mean, the whole thing makes, like, the explosion is horribly bad.
Cartoon. It's like Jaws. it's Jaws 3D level, like, bad.
You almost expect, like, them to, like, be shown after the smoke was just, like, black or something.
Or just, like, skeletons.
Just, like, sitting there. Yeah, because it's so cartoony. But, like, the whole scenario is very
ludicrous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I don't know how it was supposed to go.
Why couldn't he after like testing the wine out, just like set like his briefcase like with the bomb somewhere by them?
Yeah.
Not like go up to them, just like leave it somewhere and just walk out.
He didn't have to do any of that. He could have thrown the briefcase into the bar, ran away, and have it explode. Like, none of the scenario makes any sense whatsoever. That he had to go through the whole process of pretending he's a salesman, pouring a wine sample. It's nuts. But that is probably one of the best scenes in the film, and Danny Trejo gets to be a part of it. So
he's got a terrible like bowl cut mullet.
Yeah, he does. On. Yeah, he does. Yeah,
he's literally has a bowl cut mullet. It looks awful, absolutely awful, and it's great though. And he's got his trademark mustache too.
He does. Yes, he does.
That's out of all the movies, we got 3 movies with future stars.
I know.
Jeff Goldblum, Lawrence Fishburne, then Danny Trejo.
The Death Wish series was really
groundbreaking.
Yeah, it was picking up important people. So that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the film, but it's also really the only like notable person that's in this film besides Charles Bronson.
Yeah, nobody else in this is anybody that I recognize. Not really off the top of my head. No. With good reason, because everybody in this film, like every other Death Wish film outside of the first one, wooden, cartoony, simplistic.
Yep.
Though at the same time, though, I think some of them are like it's not great acting, but it's enjoyable. So like both drug dealers, I enjoy them for their like kind of over the top cartooniness.
Yeah.
And some of their henchmen. But overall, like, it's the cops are very boring, dull, and the one low rent John Saxon's like, just saying random things like, oh, that's his quirk. He says random, little weird things. But other than that, I think Bronson in this one compared to the past 2 films, Bronson actually looks like he's having fun with this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not doing that great of an acting job. Because he's also very stiff and wooded in this. But he looks like he's actually enjoying this.
Yeah.
And that's good. I think that enjoys...
And like you said, he had to do, like, some stunts in this one. Like, crawl out of an upside-down car.
I know. Poor old man having to, limber up and do some calisthenics before he, moves his way out of a car.
The one other thing that I wanted to talk about, which we haven't covered yet, is just how 80s this film really is.
Like I said,
this is the epitome of an 80s, of like a later 80s film.
The themes, like I was telling you, the theme song to this could have been GTA's Vice City theme.
Yeah.
Like it perfectly.
This is absolute 80s madness because not only are you getting, like this.
And to be more specific too, late 80s.
Yeah, late 80s.
Because Death Wish 2 encapsulates the early 80s perfectly in its nonsense. With this amazing theme. Death Wish 3 encapsulates the mid-80s like perfectly with its nonsense. This one totally looks like it's, again, very representative of the late 80s.
Yeah. Because not only do you have like the entire like cocaine like
backdrop.
Like that's like a whole... And actually even one character, an editor, remarks that no one cares that people are doing drugs anymore because everyone's doing drugs.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's technically true in the 80s like the late 80s period. But not only that, but you have like just the settings for each of the scenes. Like one of the biggest drug deals occurs in the arcade, like a packed arcade.
What's an arcade?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And a roller rink.
Yep, the arcade and the roller rink. The entire, like, almost all of the conclusion takes place in a very packed roller rink.
Like, everyone just got done watching Xanadu and, like, let's go down to the roller rink,
Yeah, it's great because, like, you get to see all of the hairstyles and the
outfits.
The outfits of the late 80s like that. It's
one Karen's daughter's boyfriend pulls up in a fucking IROC Camaro.
Yeah,
with like
cigarette tucked behind his ear,
and like generic fucking late 80s like rock music playing. Like it's not a licensed song. It's just random like. It's great.
Yeah, I know. that roller rink scene, I think, is probably one of my favorites in this film as well because
it's typical, and it's typical of a late '80s like action scene.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely ridiculous with like the flashing strobe lights and the fog just pouring over this roller rink. Because in this case, if anybody was actually trying to roller skate in that roller rink with like the fog and the lights going on, they wouldn't be able to see anybody. They'd be crashing into all kinds of things. It'd be a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Not only that, the walls are like steel cage too.
Yeah.
So it's...
I know. I love that roller rink scene because it is, for like where, you think about Death Wish 3 where they were facing off in like a blown out Brooklyn, city neighborhood, which kind of makes sense for like the epitome of an action film. In this case, this film's, main face-off occurs in a roller rink. It's kind of crazy, but at the same time, I mean, I do appreciate it for what it is. I love that. That's all I had on my list of things to talk about. Did we not? What do you have to cover?
I will say that overall, I do think the action in this film's pretty well done.
Yeah,
the effects at times not good.
Yeah.
And some of the acting, like the reaction shots to like getting shot, or your stereotypical terrible action film style. But I think like some of the premises are good. Like the whole like shootout at the oil field. I think that's
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Again, like I joke, it's like a GTA thing, but that like in GTA 5 because that whole oil field looks like something in GTA 5. But I do think it was a pretty good setting. I do think the ending shootout at the roller rink's pretty fun, and though it's kind of funny that you don't ever see like the bullets hitting people.
No.
And you don't see any blood.
No.
So like you see him shooting, like it's hitting a bunch of arcade machines, but you don't see him hitting the guy, but the guy just drops down like he got shot.
Yeah,
like,
that's actually like a step back from what Death Wish 3 was doing. Because in that one you actually had like the blood packs and everything spurting out. In this one it's more so of like a...
spray and pray.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like a...
Comical.
And that's pretty reminiscent of the time, though. Like, a lot of lower budget action films would do that, where it would just be like, you can't even see the bullets, you can't even see the holes, but it just, like, shake and die.
And this did have a lower budget, it's only $5 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's reminiscent of, like, what they would do at this time, but at the same time, I think it's a step back for some of the other films in the series.
I agree, but I do think overall, though, the action in this it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And, it's entertaining.
Especially with like the grenade launcher towards the end.
Oh yeah. Which is great too because he like blows up the one van with a grenade launcher and a couple guys. Which the guy you find out that the guy who hired him isn't actually a newspaper guy. He's a rival drug lord.
Right.
Who's snuffing out the other guys.
Yeah, it's like a backstab.
Yeah, it's a plot twist.
Yeah.
And when Kersey blows up that fucking van with his grenade launcher and a couple guys get flown, he's like, holy shit, I gotta get out of here. Which is great, because it's like, he's supposed to be some badass drug lord. He's like, oh, damn, this guy's serious.
He also elicits the great phrase, fucking black fag, when his one cohort runs away and tries to drive out of the garage in his car.
Before he gets blown up by Kersey.
Because he's a black guy. And, yeah.
Because he's running away. He's a fag.
He's running away. He's a fucking black fag. That's pretty funny. But
and again, it's not... It's fun. So this is... People are probably like, that's offensive. And it's like, it is, but at the same time, it's hilarious because it's so fucking ridiculous. See? It's the ridiculousness.
It's the ridiculousness of that phrase.
That makes it hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
To those who don't understand comedy.
It was pretty funny.
But no, I mean... And you know what? That's great, too, because it's like, that's such like an 80s type... Have you ever... Like, I can't even think of like a film today that would even dare. Like, even like an action film or something, like, they'd be like, say shit like that.
No, probably not.
It just wouldn't fly.
No.
But soundtrack, we got a great...
The great soundtrack.
Fucking late 80s smooth jazz.
Yeah. Saxophone riddled soundtrack on that one.
It's no Death Wish 2 theme. It's no Jimmy Page with the synth stings.
Yeah, this is definitely no
slides.
Jimmy Page. But you gotta admit that this soundtrack is a lot more like
energized and cohesive.
Cohesive, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Cohesive than like Death Wish 2 and 3 because those soundtracks are all over the place.
Mainly Death Wish 2. Death Wish 3 is a little bit more focused, but no, you're right. This one does stay in line with that that like jazzy sax the entire film.
Yeah.
Whereas Death Wish 2 is like going from like rock to metal to synth horror score, you know.
Yeah.
Which at the same time, I love that just because of how it's like you got the great theme and then like the fucking synth stings. Like somebody's like, "Oh, John Carpenter used that. Let's try something like that." This one, it's like, no, we know what we're trying to be. We're trying to be an '80s action film. We're gonna have a.
You got like the guitar solos and the sax.
And as you said, like you can just see them like playing this in the studio with like sunglasses on, like oh, this is where they're gonna building to the bridge. Let's go.
Yep. It's. I mean, I dig the tune. I think it's pretty catchy myself.
Outside of the theme, though, the soundtrack overall is not memorable.
It's not really that memorable.
But to be fair, it's not like Death Wish 2 and 3 where every scene is littered with some score. This one's a much quieter.
I mean, I don't really think that the soundtrack in the action scenes needs to be memorable. There's not really, like, because you're watching the action. You're not really listening to, like, the soundtrack giving you the emotion.
Yeah.
So I think that probably works. Like, it's better for it to be not really that noticeable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, anything else that you can think of? I think we touched on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's kind of a stupid film, but I know that people will have fun with Death Wish 4. I mean, it's you can have fun with it if you really like just stop trying to think about it for a second and just like let it happen. It's a fun film. It's definitely one of those 80s action movies where you have to kind of just go with the flow and not really worry about realism and things that happen.
It's about the journey.
That's right. Exactly. At least in this film, like, cars just don't blow up whenever they want to. So, that's a plus, I guess. So, out of 10 car bombs, what would you give Death Wish 4 the Crackdown?
I'm trying to think. I gave Death Wish 1 an 8.5.
I can't remember now.
I know I did. I'm trying to think. I think I gave Death Wish 2 a 5 or 5.5.
I have no idea. Lost track.
And I think I can't remember if it was a 7.5 or a 6.5. I think
I know it was 3. I think you gave it like a 7.5.
7.5.
I think we were in agreement on that one.
I would give this probably a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
I think I probably gotta go 6 on this one.
I think I do agree. Like Death Wish 3, it's a very flawed film.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a lot of fun. I know I've bashed on here sometimes, just like the idea of like films where you turn your brain off. But at the same time, I think it's one of those things like a film like that, it's either when you watch it, it's going to your brain's automatically going to do it, and you're going to be able to enjoy it, or you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how those films, they work. Like, some people can do it to most of those films, some people, you can't. This one, I can do that too, and enjoy it. So yeah, I like it. As right now, this is easily better than Death Wish 2.
Yeah. I would say this is better than Death Wish 2. I think Death Wish 2 is probably one of the worst in the series. So I would say it's better than Death
Roman
Wish 2.
numeral.
That's right. Yeah. Next week we're going to cover the final Death Wish film, Death Wish 5, The Face of Death, which also has a subtitle, as you can tell. And I'm really curious to see what this one does, because that film was released 7 years later from Death Wish 4, The Crackdown. So, like, in 7 years, a lot has changed. And also, like, a lot of people have probably forgotten about Death Wish.
It's going to be filled with grunge music.
I'm really curious to see where this goes from here. So, like, when we did the Saw series and you were getting worn down, I can't say that I'm getting worn down from the Death Wish series. I continue to come back fresh-faced and ready for another Paul Kersey film.
Well, to be fair, though, Saw is like the same continuing strand of story. So,
yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, this one just kind of, you can pick up wherever and go.
It's more episodic. So
yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why Saw, like, drains, because it's like, you watch the fifth one, it's like, oh, this is how it connects back to the second one with this twist, and it's like, fuck you, movie.
Yeah. Too many intertwining plot themes and stuff like that. So yeah, with Death Wish, you don't really need that. So I'm really interested to see where Death Wish 5 takes us. Next week we're gonna talk about that one, and that'll be the end of the Death Wish series. And then from there, I think we're gonna like take a break from some of the series work that we've been doing and like covering all of the movies in a franchise, and probably do a couple of one-offs before we kind of do anything more with the series work. So I think I know what I want to cover, but I haven't discussed it with you yet. I think I want to get into another giallo. Because we had mentioned that we never have done a giallo on here before, but that wasn't true. Because we did do Tenebrae.
We mentioned that before Tenebrae. Because when we saw Tenebrae, like, hey, we're finally doing a giallo, which is the whole purpose of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I want to get back into another one because we haven't done very many, and we wanted to do those for that. So I think we're going to do What Have You Done to Solange, because I have that. This is a giallo that I have not watched yet, but I've been really interested in seeing. So I think we may do that one for the next film.
Yeah, we can do a couple
after Death Wish 5.
Not like a series, but we'll just do a couple of giallos next.
Yeah, because I do have a couple. I think I would be really interested in doing What Have You Done to Solange, which is actually a giallo. And then also...
There's one I want to do down the road.
Yeah.
Just because I know it's a famous one, but I've never seen it.
What?
It's a Dario Argento film.
What is it?
You know it. It's his biggest film.
Suspiria?
Yeah.
Suspiria?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point we would definitely do that. I love Suspiria.
Because you can't call yourself a giallo podcast and then not review.
That's true. That, Blood and Black Lace, we've got to do at some point. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do Suspiria at some point. I know Synapse is working on it as like the release.
Well, when they fuck up the audio, ever so slightly with a hissing noise.
No, I'm just excited for them for their color work on that because the color in Suspiria is great. But so I want to do What Have You Done to Solange, and I also want to do The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, La Noche Evelyn Uschi dalla Tomba, which is not technically a giallo film, but it is definitely in that style. So that's one of my favorites. So I would be really interested in doing that one because I have both of those. So
there you go.
We may be doing that.
There you go, ladies and gents.
And then that'll probably take us close to St. Patrick's Day when we can do Leprechaun 2. We had so much fun with the previous one.
Yeah, God.
And maybe something with Valentine's Day.
Is there a My Bloody Valentine 2?
No. I was thinking more of along the lines of Valentine with David Boreanaz from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, and Bones fame. David Boreanaz. So, that may be in the future as well. Because I think, what is it, 2 weeks from now is Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Something like that?
2 weeks.
So we'll probably stick something in there. So, gotta correspond with the holidays and stuff. People like that.
It's topical.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. So some administrative duties, obviously. We are on iTunes. That's where you can catch us. That's where most people will probably be listening to us. Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to us and leave us a nice review. It helps us get noticed. We appreciate you subscribing. We're also on SoundCloud. That's where the episodes go up first, and that's where our RSS feed originates. You can follow us on there. Make sure that you like and repost some of our stuff. We really appreciate you following us. You can also catch us on Stitcher and basically any other podcast app that you use. So any of those, if you can leave us a review, please do so. Leave us a nice review. You can catch us on our website. It's bloodandblackrumpodcast.wordpress.com. I do post all of our updates on there, so you can follow along there. We are on Twitter at bloodandblackrum. And you can follow us. I post some of our episodes up there, and we try to repost some of our podcast networks episodes as well. So you'll probably see a lot from the Ace Podcast Network, which we like to promote. So definitely check them out too. You can also like us on Facebook. We're on there. So share us and do whatever you need to do there on Facebook. You can email us, bloodandblackrunpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your suggestions for any films that you want us to cover or anything that we can do on the show. We really do. We are open to your feedback, so please let us know. And also, make sure that you check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/bloodandblackrunpodcast. That's a donation service, and we do have a few tiers open if you do choose to donate to us. It's a monthly donation, so just keep that in mind. We appreciate anything that you can give back to help us out. We do use it for the podcast only, so everything that we get is going to be used for podcast hosting and stuff like that. So if you can donate to us, we really appreciate it. But if not, we'll always do this for free. I think that's it. So thank you for joining us for this episode of the Death Wish series. We'll be back next week with the final installment of this series with Death Wish 5, The Face of Death. And I think that's it.
Take care.
Have a good one.